Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales, a place where you'll find stories and fanfictions written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today we're diving back into Universe 91, a Power Rangers universe, which is a flip on my parabatized story universe, Universe 19, which you can go listen to all the Power Ranger Universe 19 stories on that podcast. This is a flip on his universe, where certain events happen differently. This is Power Rangers Cyberforce V2. This version of Cyberforce Rangers is different to the original, as the heights and lengths that Haley has gone through is dramatically different because she never met the Newtman kids. This is a different story altogether. Like I said, if you want to go listen to the original Power Rangers Cyberforce, go check out the Power Rangers Universe 19 podcast. Let's dive in with today's chapter. Haley finally has the museum up to scratch and can finally reopen. So let's see what happens, shall we? With Power Rangers Cyberforce V2, Chapter 6, Grand Reopening, Part 1. Haley, Ace, Daisy and Timothy all stood outside of the museum, with a huge red ribbon going across the door. Haley stood in front of a microphone in front of a crowd of people. Hello everyone, from myself and my team, I just want to say thank you so much for all the support in the grand reopening of this museum. The whole point of the museum is to showcase standouts and pinpoints and representations of the history of all cultures when it comes to technology. And a couple of years ago we lost our beloved Cyberforce Rangers to StingNet. Well, today we reopen our grand museum. We now have everything up and running. We now can also announce our brand new Cyberforce Ranger exhibit, which is dedicated to the original Cyberforce Rangers. So please enjoy yourselves, and I officially dubbed this museum Open, Haley called out. The same time, Ace used a pair of scissors to cut the ribbon, and everyone applauded. Everyone got to work. Haley sat at the receptionist table and started accepting everyone in and answering any questions that anyone had for her. Ace was designated tour guide and started leading a group of people around the museum. Daisy and Timothy ran the cafe, with Daisy being waitress and Timothy being the cook. Hey bro, you okay? Daisy asked, leaning over the counter. All good here, Timothy replied as he placed some of cut potatoes into the fryer. Good, keep at it, Tim, Daisy said. Aye aye, Captain, Tim replied, saluting. What did I say about SpongeBob captaining me? Daisy frowned with the point of a finger. Not to do it, Timothy said with a sad puppy face. Yeah, so pack it in, Daisy said, then gave her brother a small grin. Haley sat there with a grin on her face as the museum was full of life, laughter and wonder. But suddenly her computer screen popped up with a warning notification. Haley looked around and saw that nobody needed the receptionist for a minute, so she crept away to the back room where she found her other computer. She activated the Ranger protocol and a camera feed popped up, showing the 3 virus Rangers causing havoc by the arcade. Haley pressed her watch, signaling the trio. Ace walked over to a huge holographic image showing the very first time the Rangers contacted the future, and suddenly his communicator started beeping. Alright guys, in the next room we have some news articles dating some of the most significant moments in history of the technology advancements. First computer, first video game console, that sort of stuff. I'll be back as soon as I can, okay? Ace told the group and walked away and headed to the back room. Daisy scurried over to Timothy. Tim, we gotta go, like now, Daisy said. Oh, gotcha, hang on, replied Timothy said, and he pulled out a cover and put it over a plate of food. He then shut off the counter, turned off the oven, and made sure that none of the public could enter it, and then he chased after Daisy. The trio grouped around Haley. We got trouble, you need to go. Don't worry about me, I'll keep things stood here, Haley told them. If you think you can handle alright for a little while, we're good, Ace replied. Good luck, girl. Not that you need it, yeah? Daisy grinned. Thank you. Now go deal with them, Haley commanded. The 3 Rangers then hit their communicators and teleported away. The trio entered the area where they stood in front of the arcade. Then suddenly an energy blast hit them, knocking them off their feet. They grunted in pain as they jumped to their feet and saw the 3 Virus Rangers stood there. The Virus 3 Ranger held her Cyber Virus claws. Virus 1 Ranger had some chunky hand blaster which looked like a scorpion tail. And the Virus 2 Ranger had a scythe in her hands. They all have weapons now? Daisy blurted. Yep, but so do we, Timothy grunted. On with the Tim, we got this, Ace said sternly. Lead the way, dude, Timothy said. Ready, guys? Ace called out.
Scan DNA!
Ace called out as he waved his hand over his morpher. The morpher started glowing silver.
Cybercharge!
Ace called out as he slammed his hand down on his morpher, and in a flash of silver light, Ace was morphed into the silver Cyberforce Ranger.
Scan DNA!
Daisy called out as he waved her hand over her morpher. The morpher started glowing white.
Cybercharge!
Daisy called out as she slammed her hand down on her morpher, and in a flash of white light, Daisy was morphed into the white Cyberforce Ranger. Scan DNA! Timothy called out as he waved his hand over his morpher. The morpher started glowing orange. Cybercharge! Timothy called out as he slammed his hand down on his morpher, and in a flash of orange light, Timothy was morphed into the orange Cyberforce Ranger. The three Cyberforce Rangers stood face to face with the Cybervirus Rangers. Let's do this, the Silver Ranger barked, and then ran at the Virus 1 Ranger. He jumped up and kicked the Virus 1 Ranger, but he blocked the attack. He aimed his new blaster and shot several blasts at the Silver Ranger, sparks exploding off of him as he was struck by the blasts. The Silver Ranger then tapped on his weapon icon on his morpher.
Download Cyber Hatchets!
He called out, and then his two axes appeared in his hand. He swung his axes and hit the Virus 1 Ranger across the chest, then the second one hit the blaster. What do you think of my new Cybervirus Stinger? Virus 1 Ranger asked. Impressive, but it's not good enough, the Silver Ranger barked. Then he swung down again, but the Virus 1 Ranger caught his wrist and placed the blaster against the Silver Ranger's chest, but the Silver Ranger locked his other hatchet around the tip of the blaster. Both Rangers now interlocked with each other. Their helmets were in breathing distance of each other. Why do you hate me so much, Ace? The Virus 1 Ranger asked. You were supposed to be our leader, the Silver Ranger barked back. Virus 2 Ranger walked up to the Orange Ranger, her scythe in her hand. Hey, lover boy, the Virus 2 Ranger said mockingly. The Orange Ranger did not respond. He just tapped the weapon icon on his morpher. Download Cyber Shield, he called out, and suddenly his shield appeared on his arm. Let's dance, lover, Virus 2 Ranger said in a romantic tone. Then she ran at him and swung her scythe down hard. The Orange Ranger held up his arm. The tip of the scythe came hammering down. The shield vibrated due to the impact. She lifted her scythe and spun around, swinging the scythe horizontally. The Orange Ranger jumped up, the scythe flying underneath him. He landed and rolled forward, and jabbed the rim of his shield into her chest, knocking the wind out of her. He then swung the shield up, knocking her in the face, knocking up in the air. He then rammed the shield into her, knocking her flying back. The Virus 3 Ranger ran one claw against the other, causing sparks to ripple off them. The White Ranger clicked her knuckles. Just us lovely girls, huh? The Virus 3 Ranger said. Don't small talk me, the White Ranger barked. Then she ran at Virus 3 Ranger and threw a punch, but the Virus 3 Ranger swiped her fist away and struck her with a double scratch, knocking her on to her back. Then the Virus 3 Ranger swung her claws down at the fallen White Ranger, but she kicked her leg out, making the Virus 3 Ranger stumble backwards. She jumped up and roundhouse kicked the Virus 3 Ranger. Then she backflipped, kicking the Virus 3 Ranger in the face.
Have you been teleported to the past? Or de-aged to look like a kid again? Or have you delivered a message to some strange woman who asks questions all the time? And are you stuck? Well, call TARDIS Taxis, the taxi service that don't get you where you want to go, but where you need to go. To book TARDIS Taxis, simply call the number in last week's paper. Bookings are 6 months in advance. We cannot rearrange your booking, as it may rip a hole in the space-time continuum. Refunds are at the discretion of the Time Lords. Call TARDIS Taxis, and we will get you home. One day.
Haley sat there at the receptionist's table, nervously waiting for the Rangers to return. In her mind, she knew the Rangers could handle themselves, but deep in her gut, something was telling her something was very, very wrong. Dr. H was walking around the museum, a small grin on her face, as she could see Haley across the room. She had no idea that her enemy was in her own museum, that she spoke to her, she accepted money off her. Haley sat there twitching her leg. Her ranger pests were out dealing with the Virus Rangers, which gave her this opportunity. She walked around the museum and Haley had no idea, as she had never seen her actual face. She walked up to the miniature figure of the original Cyberforce Megazord, which was in a fighting pose in the replica of the last day of the original Cyberforce Rangers, and the day that they fell. She pulled out her pen, loaded up another computer chip into the pen, and wrote the kanji symbol for virus. She then flicked her wrist, and the floating kanji symbol flew into the Cyberforce Megazord replica, and it grew to human size and morphed into a monster. The Zord parts all morphed to look more like horrifying monster versions of the vehicles. Its sword went all black and resembled a cutlass. Then she clicked her fingers, and in a spark of purple, her black cloak and hood appeared, sheltering her identity. Then she waved her hand, and a small group of stickers appeared. She then walked up to the center of the main room. Her new Cyberforce Megazord monster and her army of stickers filled the room as well. Haley jumped up in shock. The two stickers grabbed her. She then tried to fight them off, but with no luck. They dragged her up to Dr. H and forced her to her knees. "Hello, Haley," Dr. H sneered. "You're Dr. H, then?" Haley muttered. "I am, and this is Cyber Fear. And you've met my stickers, of course." "Oh, wait, where are your rangers?" Dr. H chirped. Everyone was brought in front of the receptionist counter and forced to sit against the wall. No one made a sound. They all sat there in silence. Some wiped tears from their cheek, some comforted others, some prayed to whatever higher being they believed in, some silently hoped that the Rangers would come and save them. "They're busy fighting your three wannabes," Haley mocked. Cyberfear swung his sword, striking Haley. She went flying back, sliding across the floor, crashing into a stand of snacks and plushy toys. The hostages all gasped. "Watch your tongue. You're nothing but Tommy's rejected sidekick," Dr. H barked as Cyberthreak advanced on Haley, his sword ready to end Haley's life once and for all. "Yeah, what does that make you?" one of the hostages called out. Dr. H spun around. "Who said that?" she yelled. A girl jumped to her feet and ran to the middle of the room. She was a young girl of Asian descent. Her black hair was up in two parts, into plaits, and she wore some kind of training sportswear. "How dare you? Who do you think you are?" Dr. H growled. "Me? I'm Midori Hosen." The girl grinned, revealing her Cyberforce morpher. "What? How?" Dr. H gasped. "What, this pretty little thing?" "Ah, it's nothing," Midori grinned. "You can't be a ranger," Dr. H snarled. "You want to bet?" Midori chuckled. "Scan DNA," Midori called out as she waved her hand over her morpher. The morpher started glowing a sage green. "Cybercharge," Midori called out as she slammed her hand down on her morpher, and in a flash of light Midori was morphed into the Sage Cyberforce Ranger. "Deal with this now," Dr. H barked, and Cyberfreak and the stickers ran at the Sage Ranger. Haley sat up and gazed at the new Ranger fighting the stickers with awe. She was confused and shocked and grateful all at once. In the land without time and space, William Cranston was floating in the air. He was wearing a hooded white trench coat. His eyes were all white and glowing. Light energy surrounded him, similar to those of the Northern Lights. Then everything vanished. William dropped to the floor. The knight and Takeshi grabbed William and helped him onto his throne. "What the hell did you just do?" Takeshi barked. "I fixed the situation by making a ranger," William said as he tried to catch his breath, but his entire body was now drained of energy. "Yes, Sage. Is a Sage green? Why not just make another Green Ranger?" Takeshi asked, still furious. "Had to keep the balance. Green is dead. Ruthie cannot be. It had to make a quick decision," William explained. "You keep telling me that we cannot intervene, yet you have done this and wrecked the natural course of things. How the hell do you do that?" "It's past you have taken personally. I made it your mission to play chess with a multi-level threat. It's your human form. Why are you wrecking things? And here you are making a new ranger out of thin air, breaking the cycle. Who even is this girl? You have ruined the course of this woman's life as well," Takeshi barked at William. "She didn't have a life course. I made her as well, William confessed. You are a fool, William Cranston, Takeshi growled. Takeshi scratched his head, not knowing what to do next. Then the knight walked away and returned several minutes with a glass of water and gave it to William. And there you have it, guys. We have Power Rangers Cyberforce V2 Chapter 5. I really hope that you enjoyed Chapter 6, sorry. I really hope you enjoyed this chapter. I do want to quickly say that you should go check out the Three Ranger Bros Studios, aka myself. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and join the family. Then we have where this story originated from, Cosplay Dude 637 with both his podcasts, Power Rangers Universe 19, which is where you'll find the original Power Rangers Cyberforce storyline, and many other Power Rangers and Kamen Rider stories, including our combination story, Kamen Rider Kiva, which takes place in Universe 19. Then you have Mark the Red Cornet Ranger, who also has a podcast, Naruto Comics, where he's adapting comic books into audio dramas and also releasing his own stories at the same time. I'm a voice actor of his, and you'll find some of my stories on his podcast because we are associated with each other. We, as the Three Ranger Bros, are associated with Zero to Hero, a podcast of Billy and Jim, aka the Balkan Scholar Podcasting, do their best to talk about multiple different fandoms, interview people on these fandoms. All Three Ranger Bros have been interviewed on Zero to Hero at some point or another, so maybe you should go check them out as well. Thank you all for listening. Like I said before, subscribe to the channel, and with that being said, I shall see you guys really soon.